Welcome to the video blog on our interviews with PR's top 50 thought leaders. My guest today, starting it off, very fitting, is Richard Edelman. Richard is president and CEO of Edelman, the world's largest public relations firm, independent public relations firm. Welcome to the video blog.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So the first thing I want to start is, what have been some of the guiding principles in your career that have helped make your company so successful and you such an industry thought leader?
Well, I think that first principle is that we have to be a global enterprise. So we've made money in the United States and consistently invested it outside, so that today we have 51 offices. Second, we take the approach that public relations is much more than media relations, that in fact it's about stakeholder connection. Third, guiding principle has to be trust and transparency, that we have to behave in a way that, again, the stakeholders can count on our material as trustworthy and accurate.
Great. Now, some of the things you've done in that are obviously different than what everyone else is doing. So are those the guiding principles that you think PR as a whole needs to adopt, or are there areas PR as an industry needs to change to stay relevant?
Well, Doug, of course we benefit from being independent and not being part of a holding company, because there are sister agencies if you're in a holding context that crowd you. But I do believe in the broad kind of aspect of public relations, because the world's changed. Let's face it, that you no longer can count on government to find solutions. It's now business that really must make change, and in that context, PR needs to be the bridge to these stakeholders. And at the same time, you've got a tremendous change in the media picture, which I don't need to tell you. We find ourselves in dispersion of media. You've got thought leader media like The Economist or Foreign Affairs that have their niche. You've got tremendous growth in Huffington Post and social media, Facebook, etc. And then mainstream media really continuing to morph itself. NewYorkTimes.com now has 21 million unique visitors a month. That's stunning numbers, up 75% in a year.
So is not adapting to change one of the biggest mistakes PR is making, or are there others? And do you foresee there might be some crises ahead for PR as an industry?
I think public relations is still got tremendous growth potential. One of the things that I'm so gratified about is that unlike 2001, when the recession hit, public relations was crushed, particularly tech, .com, whatever. In the current soft environment, public relations is still seen as a necessary part of not only corporate but marketing spend. And in fact, that the accelerator effect you do get in the marketing side makes PR that special additional factor. So PR is getting 5 to 10 to even 15% of marketing budgets these days. That's a major change from 5 or 6 years ago.
So is that the biggest opportunity for PR to have continued growth, start sort of taking the money from the marketing, from the advertising budgets, because it can be more effective when done well?
Well, I always tell my people that, frankly, it's a bit like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Why do we rob banks? Because that's where the money is. Well, actually, money's in advertising, and we should be very, very direct about, in a sense, making our case to the CMO about why public relations deserve to have its share. I think, in fact, public relations should come first to lay the runway of trust, even before any advertising. Also, I think PR should be in the conceptualization phase. If you're going to be going green, or if you're going to be having a scientific advantage, that's where public relations gives you great credibility for whatever claims you're going to make in the paid media.
Yeah, let's look specifically at Edelman and some of the things you're doing. What are some of the innovative things you're doing now that are ahead of the curve, that are having the biggest impact?
Well, I think that we went into the CSR business about 8 or 9 years ago. And so our ability to make bridges between NGOs and companies is, I think, ahead of many. Also, Edelman Digital, where we have 135 people actually creating digital content for our clients, I think, again, is a larger commitment than most of our peers. And then finally, I would say our commitment to intellectual capital. The Edelman Trust Barometer, which we now do in 18 countries. It's a serious commitment to understanding trends in the media business, as well as generally among thought leaders.
You know, 3 to 5 years from now, if you're looking at the crystal ball, and I know PR people always train, don't answer crystal ball questions, hypotheticals, what do you see are new things, different things that PR will be doing to continue to stay relevant?
I think public relations people are going to be at the table in the C-suite. I think that just as investment bankers, lawyers, accountants, management consultants, I think PR people are there. You've already started to see it. People like Leslie Dock at Walmart, who sits next to the CEO and helps advise on environment and other key issues. I also think public relations is going to be in this concept of public engagement, where we sit in a way trying to bridge among the interests of stakeholders. And as you've got scientific development, as you have innovation, we have to continue to provide the license to operate, Doug. And there's no question that if, for instance, technology allows you to know what's in your refrigerator, there are privacy issues around that. Because of greater ability, we have to create the credibility for companies to make change.
Understand that. Now, for people just starting out in PR, obviously they'd love to get 30 seconds of your time to say, here's what you need to be looking at, here's what you need to do.
I really believe that you've got to be multilingual. You've really got to be very capable of going to other markets and participating in a non-English context. So whether it's Mandarin, Spanish, whatever, learn that. Second, understand business. Be able to read a balance sheet, take courses that allow you to have a decent conversation with a business person. Third, know something about science. Not my greatest asset, but I've forced myself to understand something about biology because I do work in pharma. You must be able to carry out intelligent conversations if you're going to provide value. So know the local context, know some local culture, but also have those two aspects of business and science.
Yeah, I take it you're optimistic about PR's future.
I'm incredibly optimistic about PR. I think when you understand that the top 10 firms today have revenues of about $3 billion, it's a stunning achievement for the industry. And I believe that we are still only at the beginning of what is possible for PR because of our superior credibility, flexibility, but also the capability to talk across stakeholder groups. Advertising is great to just consumers, but the way the world works today, you have to hear messages several times in order to get belief, and that's what we do.
Thanks so much for being with us. Terrific.
Thank you.